For decades, the world worried about rising population statistics. Everywhere, governments talked about population control and families were encouraged to have fewer children. In many countries, small family, happy family became the message. But today, something unexpected is happening. The world's biggest problem is slowly becoming the exact opposite. Namaste, I am Anuradha and this is Organiser. Today we are going to talk about a very major and alarming problem rising all over the world, which is drastic demographic decline. People are simply having fewer children and governments across the world are getting worried. Some countries are now paying couples to have babies. Some are funding IVF treatments. A financial incentive of 30,000 rupees for a couple upon the birth of their third child. These are not random social experiments. These are real-world policies introduced by governments planning to encourage childbearing. Last month, Andhra Pradesh became one of the first Indian states to announce direct cash payments for having more than 2 children. Across the globe, nations like Sweden, Japan are scrambling for solutions to a shared crisis of drastic demographic decline. Many societies see smaller population increases over time and owing to steady improvements in public health, education, and economic indicators. But the actual pace and scope of the shift have caught the world completely off guard. To understand why governments are panicking, we have to look closely at the numbers. In demography, the most critical figure for population growth is the total fertility rate, which is also known as TFR. Put simply, total fertility rate is the average number of children that a woman is expected to bear in her lifetime. To keep a population perfectly stable without growing or shrinking, a society needs what is called a replacement rate of 2.1. That means an average of just 2 children per woman to replace the biological mother and father. But today, that balance is broken. As of 2023, more than 2/3 of the total population lives in regions where total fertility rate has fallen below that crucial 2.1 threshold. In the early 1960s, the global average total fertility rate was a booming 5.3. By 2024, it's plummeted to just 2.2, hovering precariously right above the replacement line. But for countries like India, this is even worse. Just a few generations ago, a rapid population boom was viewed as the nation's single greatest economic crisis, prompting widespread state-sponsored family planning campaigns. Government initiatives like Hum Do, Hamare Do successfully spread family planning messaging even among less educated groups and in deeply rural areas. But the decline happened far quicker than anyone anticipated. In the 1960s, India's total fertility rate stood at 5.9. Today, it has dropped to 2.0, slipping entirely below the replacement rate. According to Muradfaj Thakkar, a scientist and a Marie Curie Research Fellow at the Max Planck Institute for Demographic Research, the shift completely blindsided experts. United Nations projection from just a decade ago expected global fertility to drop below 2.1, sometimes between 2030 and 2035. Instead, the free fall arrived years ahead of schedule. Within India, this rapid decline in South Indian states has already triggered intense political debates regarding regional delimitation and legislative representation. Now let's understand what is causing this universal shift. Demographers point to the demographic transition theory. It states that as societies move from low economic growth and low education levels toward modern prosperity, both birth rates and death rates naturally fall. Moreover, development itself acts as a form of contraception. As healthcare improves, parents realize they no longer need to have more children just to ensure their survival into adulthood. A major catalyst in this whole process is rapid urbanization, which drastically inflates the everyday cost of living. At the same time, massive spikes in women's educational attainment, workforce participation, and reproductive autonomy has been seen. That simply means women are structurally changing how they view family planning. Conversely, in regions like the sub-Saharan Africa, where total fertility rate remains as high as 4 and 5, high rates of teens pregnancies persist due to limited access of contraception, early marriages, and low level of formal education. Yet, economies only tells a small part of the story. In wealthy Nordic countries like Sweden, which boast a total fertility rate of only 1.4 despite massive state subsidies and highly equal domestic dynamics. The endurance of traditional gender roles means many working women still shoulder the double burden of domestic care alongside career aspirations. Faced with this pressure, many simply choose to have fewer children or not at all. Scholars note that while generous pro-family policies have helped prevent an even steeper decline in places like the Nordics, they cannot stop the broader global trend. To understand why fertility is falling everywhere, cultural shifts are proving to be much more powerful. That simply means modern people are prioritizing childbearing less. Demographers trace this back to two major late 20th century trends. The first was the rise of the social liberation era, which focused heavily on individual personal aspirations, allowing people to re-examine social norms and choose lifestyle that suited them. The other was the simultaneous retreat of the economic welfare state in many Western nations. As a byproduct, having children was no longer viewed as a mandatory requirement for living a fulfilling life. Today, dropping marriage rates and an increase in single-person households, perhaps driven by smartphone-reliant interaction and hardening political divides along gender lines, are reshaping relationships. Adding to this, growing anxieties over climate change are causing many young people to reconsider bringing children into the world at all. Because of population momentum, India's total population will continue to increase for some time. But whether this window of opportunity is seized depends entirely on how government channel existing human capital meet the youth aspiration. Gradually, India will have to prepare for much higher public spending on health. By the year 2050, the proportion of elderly person in India is projected to surge to 20.8% of the total population, accounting for nearly 34.7 crore individuals. This will demand an immediate and massive inflation of public spending on healthcare, social safety nets, and elder care infrastructure, a reality states like Kerala are already actively planning for. Now comes the question, can state interventions reverse this tide? While immigration offers a temporary fix for workforce shortage, it frequently triggers socio-political backlash. Demographers Martin Kolk suggest that a moderate TFR, which is total fertility rate, between 1.5 and 1.7 can be managed if rich nations radically redesign social policies and corporate sectors curb grueling overtime expectation. For middle-income nations like China, which are growing older before growing rich, the path forward requires heavy investment in European-style welfare system. But the ultimate consensus among global demographers is clear. As Muradfaj Thakur notes, reducing fertility rates through development and education is relatively easy. The bigger lesson is simple. Reducing fertility turned out to be much easier than increasing it again. And that is why many governments around the world are now trying something that would have sounded unbelievable just a decade ago. They are encouraging people to have more children, something that Sangh and Sarsanghchalak Dr. Mohan Bhagwat has been advocating for years.